Tonight's meeting, the special meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council, is coming to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 93rd business meeting of a four-year term. This is the 16th council meeting of 2023. That now includes 5 special sessions this year. Tonight's agenda is 5 pages long and containing 11 items. There is 1 bill on second reading and 10 ordinances on third and final reading. The only reason really for this special meeting tonight is to give final approval on third reading to the city's annual capital improvements budget. That's a 5-year planning document that does not appropriate any funds. However, any capital project the city plans to undertake must be in this budget. To add a project during the budget year requires a 2/3 or 27 yes votes to do so. Same for funding as well, the funding mechanism. The Metro Charter requires the capital improvements budget ordinance be adopted by June 15th of each year. Therefore, a special meeting of the council is being called tonight to meet that deadline. Otherwise, the council doesn't meet again until the 20th. Council is likely to consider at least one amendment to the capital improvements budget before finally giving approval tonight. At this point, it appears only one amendment that's there has something to do with the Fair Board. The particular amendment would decrease and change the force of funding for improvements at the fairground. The current capital budget anticipates $100 million in revenue bonds to be used for projects at the Fair Board. Most likely the fairgrounds renovations, the speedway renovations. The amendment is coming from Council Member Scobey that represents the fairgrounds area. It would cut that $100 million in revenue bonds to $50 million, and it would be in general obligation bonds. That would be significantly different from the fairgrounds speedway revitalization program proposed by Mayor John Cooper in cooperation with the Bristol Motor Speedway Group. The council will consider that, is set to consider that in July. If that changed and this amendment was adopted, there would be some question about whether that legislation would go forward, because it would be very different from what was in the capital budget if that was in the capital budget. However, the bill just came up in committee just a few minutes ago with a joint meeting of both Budget and Finance and the Planning Committee. Budget and Finance voted against the amendment, 3 yeses, 8 noes. The Planning Committee voted 3 yeses and 8 noes against it. So right now it has negative or adverse committee recommendations before the amendment comes up tonight. That's the only amendment that's on the coming into the capital budget. There is, however, $753 million from various funding sources for new streets, a transit hub, greenways, and a park on the East Bank. This is the rest of the city's effort to revitalize that area, along with the new Titans $2.1 billion dome stadium recently approved by the council. Again, tonight's approval by the capital improvements budget is for planning purposes only. It does not appropriate or spend any money for projects like this. That will take a future vote by the council. This is already in the capital budget. It's put in there by the mayor put it in at the beginning and sent it down here to be approved by June 15th. It's not something being added by the council tonight. The rest of the agenda seems to be very routine, full of non-controversial bills. That includes a revised debt management policy required by state law and consistent with the provisions set forward in the model policy developed by the Tennessee State Funding Board. Another bill would approve a lease agreement between Metro Schools and Nashville State Community College on Wright Bridge Road. This involves spaces for the Gear Up program. The Gear Up program is a federally authorized and funded college access program. Its purpose is to increase the number of low-income and first-generation students who are prepared to enroll and succeed in college. If you want to follow tonight's council meeting as the meeting progresses, you can find the agenda and the staff analysis online. You can go to the Metro Council portion of the Nashville.gov website and on the Legislative Information Center. We'll also be placing the numbers on the screen of the bills when they come up tonight for consideration, so you can follow along and see where we are on the meeting agenda. Let's go now to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He will gavel tonight's special council meeting into order shortly.
Hey, we are waiting on one last member who is almost here, and then we'll have a quorum, and then we'll start. Okay? So don't go anywhere. Okay, could we get all council members into their seats, into their respective seats, so we can count one more time? And Pat Nolan cannot play the role of a council member. Get out of here. Okay. Y'all ready? Will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023. All members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Invocation tonight is brought to us by Councilmember Sean Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With the events of recent days, my mind has been with a historical figure, the most successful presidential candidate in American history to run from a federal prison, Eugene Victor Debs. And I wanted to read at his trial, he called no witnesses. He addressed the court himself, and I wanted to read an excerpt of that. Your Honor, I have stated in this court that I am opposed to the form of our present government, that I am opposed to the social system in which we live, that I believe in the change of both, but by perfectly peaceable and orderly means. I am thinking this morning of the men in the mills and factories. I am thinking of the women who, for a paltry wage, are compelled to work out their lives, of the little children who, in this system, are robbed of their childhood, and in their early, tender years, are seized in the remorseless grasp of mammon and forced into the industrial dungeons, there to feed the machines while they themselves are being starved, body and soul. Your Honor, I ask no mercy. I plead for no immunity. I realize that finally the right must prevail. I never more fully comprehended than now the great struggle between the powers of greed on the one hand and upon the other the rising hosts of freedom. I can see the dawn of a better day of humanity. The people are awakening. In due course of time, they will come into their own. Let the people take heart and hope everywhere, for the cross is bending, midnight is passing, and joy cometh with the morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, y'all may be seated. Without objection, we'll suspend the calling the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from June 6, 2023? Got a motion, properly second. Without objection, minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Mr. Clerk, any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, so as announced at the last meeting, which was June the 6th, we will be filling 3 vacancies of the newly created Nashville Music, Film, and Entertainment Commission at the next meeting. We will follow Rule 50 for those appointments. We will also, at the next meeting, be filling the 2 Railroad Authority vacancies as well. Tonight, pursuant to revised Rule 49, which took effect a week ago last Friday, I am providing notice of the vacancy of the Tennessee House of Representatives District 51 seat, previously held by the late State Representative Bill Beck. I'm calling for both nominations and the election to fill the seat at our next council meeting, which will be held on June 20th, 2023. Although the General Assembly is not in session, the governor has called for a special session to begin on August 21st, 2023. With that in mind, and in light of the new rule, we will proceed to fill the vacancy on June 20th, 2023. Rule 49 now states with the change in part as follows. Nominees need not complete a questionnaire or appear before the Rules Committee. At the meeting when the selection is to be conducted, the council member or other person having nominated a candidate may speak for no more than 5 minutes and may yield the floor to the candidate or other persons who wish to speak in support of the nomination. No more than 5 minutes total shall be given any one candidate for their presentation and the person speaking in support of that candidate. The election to fill the vacancy shall be conducted in the same manner as provided in Rule 48, Section 2 and Section 3. All right. So again, nominees need not complete a questionnaire or appear before the Rules Committee. All this will take place at the next council meeting, which is next Tuesday. Please remember, again, as we say, the people in the world in your thoughts and prayers, including the people of Ukraine. Also pray for the victims of the mass shooting in Denver last night. Just keep praying and hoping for peace. All right, we are now on the agenda. We are on bills on second reading. The first item up is BL 2023-1892 by Councilmember O'Connell and Roten. It's an ordinance to provide for the designation of public property within specified areas of downtown Nashville as a temporary special event zone during the time period beginning at 9:00 p.m. on July 2nd, 2023, ending at 11:59 p.m. on July 5th, 2023, relative to the use of these areas in conjunction with the 2023 July 4th celebration-related activities and events. Councilmember Roten, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I move approval and budget reports. I was the only committee with the budget report. With committee report. We voted in favor, 8 in favor, 0 against.
All right. So Councilmember Roten is moving approval of BL 2023-1892 on second reading. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of BL 2023-1892 for passage on second reading, say aye. Opposed, no. The bill passes on second reading. We are now on bills on third reading. Let's see, we have a consent calendar. Let me go through these very slowly and make sure that we've got these right. BL 2023-1870 is on consent. 1871 is on consent. 1872 is on consent. 1874 is on consent. 1875 is on consent. 1876 is on consent. 1877 is on consent. 1878 is on consent, and 1881 is on consent. Anything needs to be bumped off the consent calendar? Somebody sign on the Robert's bills. Okay, that's right. Okay, nothing needs to be bumped off. All right, I'll go through these. BL 2023-1870 by Councilmember Roberts and Withers, an ordinance to amend Title VII of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, alcoholic beverage regulations, exempting from the arterial boulevard requirements of retail location near Charlotte Park. Next bill is item number 3, BL 2023-1871 by Councilmembers Roten and Pulley. Ordinance amending sections 15.32.210 and 15.44.070 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to modify the Metropolitan Department of Water and Sewer Services reporting requirements. Item number 4, BL 2023-1872 by Councilmember Roten and Gamble. Ordinance adopting the revised debt management policy for the Metropolitan Government. Item number 5, BL 2023-1874 by Murphy and Roten. Ordinance approving a lease agreement by and between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County through the Board of Education of the State of Tennessee on behalf of the Nashville State Community College. BL 2023-1875 by Roten and Syracuse. An ordinance approving an agreement between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department and Lead Cameron to further youth outreach through activities with the Nashville Police Activities League. BL 2023-1876, item number 7, Evans, Roten, and others. Ordinance authorizing the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements and property rights by negotiation or condemnation for use in public projects of the Metropolitan Government initially for purposes of the Nashville Department of Transportation and multimodal infrastructure. Item number 8, BL 2023-1877 by Councilmembers Young, Withers, and Pulley. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing public sanitary sewer easement rights for property located at 1340 Plum Street. Item number 9, BL 2023-1878, Evans, Withers, and Pulley, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water main and fire hydrant assemblies for 2 properties located at 5770 and 5772 Old Hickory Boulevard, also known as Oslo Hermitage. And the last item on the consent calendar is item number 11, BL 2023-1881, by Councilmembers O'Connell and Withers, an ordinance authorizing Cannery Owner LLC, Cannery Owner Investment 1 LLC, to install, construct, and maintain encroachments in the right-of-way located at 521A 8th Avenue South and 1 Cannery Row. Those are the bills on consent. Anything needs to be bumped off of the consent calendar? Seeing none, I don't think there were any reports due. Nope, no reports. Councilmember Withers, can I get a motion to approve the 3rd reading consent calendar?
I move the 3rd reading consent calendar.
All right, Councilmember Withers moves the 3rd reading consent calendar, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the 3rd reading consent agenda say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. 3rd reading consent agenda passes. We are on the last bill tonight. It is item number 10. It is BL 2023-1880. It's an ordinance adopting the 2023, 2024 through 2028, 2029 capital improvements budget for the Metropolitan Government as the official capital improvements budget of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County for fiscal year 2023, 2024. Roten and Withers are the sponsors. Councilmember Roten, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval of 1880. We had an amendment. Was voted on, 3 in favor by Councilmember Sledge, 3 in favor, 8 against, and the CIB was approved, 11 in favor, 0 against.
All right, so what we've got is Budget and Finance approved the entire bill, 11 for, 0 against. Councilmember Sledge's amendment, there were 3 ayes and 8 against, so it got a negative recommendation, 3 to 8. Okay. All right, Councilmember Withers, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Committee also considered the amendment. Our recommendation was 3 in favor, 6 against, 0 not voting.
On the amendment?
On the amendment.
Right.
So 3 and 6. And then for the capital improvements budget as a whole, the recommendation was 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you. All right, Councilor Roten, back to you.
I renew my motion.
All right, so Councilmember Roten has renewed his motion to approve BL 2023-1880 for passage. Councilmember Withers seconds. Discussion on the bill. There is an amendment. I'm going to go to Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I need to move my amendment.
All right, so Councilmember Sledge moves his amendment, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So this amendment tonight would delete the revenue bonds proposed that would backstop the proposal to take down the Fairgrounds Speedway and replace it with a 30,000-seat facility that would be operated by Bristol or SM. The reason I propose this primarily is because right now we are dealing with an issue where, because of Bristol and SMI's efforts, the state has preempted us on our 27-vote majority regarding fairgrounds improvements, and instead we're looking at two different lawsuits right now. This is the only mechanism right now in which we could restore a 27-vote majority. In other words, if we pass the CIB with this amendment tonight, to amend the CIB going forward over the next year would require 27 votes, which has been the same vote threshold in the 8 years that I have sat here in this seat that I have needed, from everything from a soccer stadium to demolishing a cinder block bathroom. It's required 27 votes. And we talked very extensively in committee, and I appreciate the committee chairs facilitating that conversation. And what I want to emphasize to members tonight is that if we are to adopt this amendment, we would be sending a message that said, one, don't go around us and try to preempt us. That's not what a partner does. And two, that this deserves more time than we probably have in this council, which is just a little bit more than 2 months for a discussion such as this. I would appreciate, members, if you supported me on this, because you can see from the emails that you've gotten today and yesterday, I am working extremely hard on behalf of my constituents on this. My constituents have spoken very clearly and very loudly that this is not the deal that's appropriate. As we mentioned in committee, this does not have to be the only thing on the table. There was a question from the committee about, hey, is this the only remedy, is having these revenue bonds in? No, it's not. That's why I left the general obligation bonds in this capital improvements budget amendment, so that if we want to have a conversation about what it takes, the same kind of conversation, by the way, that the Fair Board had, we want to have the same conversation about what it takes to make this track safer for everyone who uses it and to make it have a lesser neighborhood impact, which the proposal from Bristol does not do. And we can get into that if you really want to, but does not do. We can still consider those GO bonds instead of going through a revenue bond process that has all kinds of issues, that does not meet those threshold that I just mentioned, and that my constituents are so very clearly against. Members, I would ask that you vote in favor of this amendment tonight so we can reset this conversation and not go through what will be an extremely chaotic last 2 months of our term. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Johnston.
Thank you. So we had a pretty robust conversation about this in the joint committee meeting, so I don't want to belabor it, but there are members that weren't present for that, so I do want to reiterate some points. I think we've started to discuss the proposal, which this is not the proposal. We're talking about a CIB amendment that is the funding mechanism for what we will be contemplating in 2 meetings from now. And that's the appropriate time to do that. It is absolutely not appropriate to fund a venue of any sort with GO bonds, in my opinion. That is coming directly out of the general fund. That is taxpayers. That is your taxpayer dollars. It's absolutely not appropriate. Revenue bonds is exactly the way to go. The venue should pay for itself. If we vote for this amendment, the funding mechanism goes away, the conversation goes away. And I don't think that's how we should go about things. If you are against the proposal, that's fine. Vote against the proposal in the legislation that's coming before us in a few weeks. But you're preempting and completely taking this away, taking the discussion away from that discussion about what the deal is about. What are the community benefits? How does this? We don't have any of that discussion if we take away the funding mechanism. If we don't take away the funding mechanism and we vote the deal down itself, the revenue bonds just aren't ever issued. No harm, no foul. But we are taking away a discussion that I think is very important for a huge part of the asset to this county, which is our fairgrounds and the historic racetrack. And we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our Fair Board members that have worked really hard on this for a few years at this point. This has been a conversation that's been contemplated for 5 years and 4 different mayors. This is not a new conversation, although the proposal is coming before us. So please vote against this CIB amendment. Don't take away the funding mechanism to a deal that we haven't even contemplated. If you're against it, that's fine. I respect that. But let's at least have the conversation. We don't want to take away the ability to have the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to be voting in favor of this amendment and supporting the district council member in this matter. I think there's a lot of questions still around this proposal, and I think that this amendment and the approach that the district member has come up with here gives us more guardrails and more abilities as a body to address those concerns. For example, one concern that I have not really heard any answer to is the likelihood that the state will simply take over the Fair Board after we issue all this financing for this. And we saw this with the football proposal where the state put in $500 million, and then they used that as justification for taking over the controlling body of that facility. The state has put in 17 here, and my expectation would be that next session we're going to see legislation to just simply take over the Fair Board so they're in control of the project. Allowing more time for this discussion, I think, is a positive thing. That gives time for the Davidson County delegation to potentially address that head on at the beginning of next session, perhaps with some proactive legislation that would codify Metro's role in controlling the Fair Board and the fairgrounds. This is a big project. It's going to have an enormous impact on the neighborhood that the district member represents. And I think that the better we can position ourselves as a body to make sure that those neighbors' concerns are heard and addressed in this process, I think that's a much better vote for us. So I will be voting in favor of the amendment today. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'm standing before you somewhat perplexed because when I signed on as a sponsor of this amendment, I signed on thinking that it was going to slow down the process, give us an opportunity to have more community engagement, listen more to the people and the things that they said, let them heal from the Titans deal that has been sealed. And I found out that it was more to it than just that. It reminded me of this same time last year when I was, I actually had submitted an amendment to take out the money for the Jefferson Street cap. And there were people constantly saying that it's not going to hurt.
Proceed ahead, Councilmember.
To keep it in the budget, that doesn't mean that you're voting in favor of Bristol. And because I'm not ready and prepared, and in fact, I just left a form and told them I had to leave. And they asked me if I was voting in favor, and I don't know if they were speaking of the actual resolution for Bristol or if they were talking about the amendment. And I said no. So I want to stay true to who I am and not flip-flop on it. And if it was okay for us to keep the money there for the Jefferson Street cap, and it wasn't going to hurt as I was concerned, then I'm not sure how this is going to hurt if we keep this in the capital improvement budget. So I think if we did it then we should do it now. So I guess I'll still decide once we take the vote, but I can say that at best I might abstain from the amendment. But I do think us more time for us to decide on about the Speedway because they are saying no, and I have to stand with them.
All right. Thank you, Council Member. Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, sir. I am a little confused about this. I have not been going to all of the budget meetings, so I guess it's safe to say I have missed quite a bit of the information. But I have a couple of questions. By taking this down to 50 instead of 100 million, does that then have more fiscal responsibility on the taxpayers? And then I guess another question that I have is, if you do this, because I think the conversation is still going on about Bristol. If we do this, pass this amendment, does that then, in essence, kill the whole Bristol deal? Or do they have to start back from the very beginning? Or what specific impact will this have on that?
All right, who wants to answer then? Mr. Jamison?
I'll take the first stab at it. Thank you, Councilmember Lee. In broad brushstrokes, I think what proponents of revenue bonds would tell you is the advantage over general obligation bonds is that GO bonds are backed by the full faith and credit of the metropolitan government. So they're backed by the taxpayers of the county, and the general hope and design of revenue bonds is to structure their repayment through essentially users of whatever project you're building, be it ticket taxes or diverted sales taxes or rent paid. Those are broad strokes, but that's generally the advantages between the two. And so, yes, we would contend that if this were general obligation as opposed to revenue, that the risks are greater upon the mom and pop taxpayers of the county. With respect to if this amendment were to pass, what is the impact on the proposal? The proposal that has been submitted and as a codified ordinance, not codified, but a drafted ordinance that will be on your agenda in July, is a revenue bond proposal. And so if that's taken out from the CIB, that ordinance is dead. And that's generally the Fair Board will say if you changed a proposal in a material way, not cosmetically, but materially, it then has to start back over at the Fair Board. So that's the concern with adoption of the amendment.
Okay, so thank you. I think I understand that. So that if we do pass this, then all the talking and everything stops because it's a moot point. But thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Pulley.
Previous question.
Okay, so Councilmember Pulley has called the previous question. We're not voting on the amendment, just on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Opposed, no. There's a lot of yelling, so I think we'll go on the board. All right, Mr. Clerk. All right, again, we're just voting on the previous question, not the amendment, just the previous question. Oh, Councilmember Taylor, question, point of order.
I'm not signed in.
All right, we're on our way. Councilmember Lee, we're going to put you in the corner back there if you don't stop. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized as we're waiting.
Thank you, sir. You know, somebody is sneaking under their desk. You know, I get called out all the time, and I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's my new hairdo. I'm not sure what it is. But there was an instigator to this, and the instigator is very much louder.
Do not call out the individual's name or
I would not, or you have to call on them. I got that. So I'm just saying, excuse me. I was trying to bring a little lightness to the situation while we were waiting, and since we are still waiting, but I will try to tone down my remarks so that everybody won't hear them. I will not promise that will always happen, but I will try to. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and it's a very nice haircut. Thank you. Councilmember Porterfield, we can't be on the bill, but we're just talking for a minute.
Not on the bill, Vice Mayor, just...
Or the amendment.
Not on the bill or the amendment, just hypothetically wondering, while we're waiting for this wonderful technology that we spend so much money for to work, like we so often do, any way we could continue this really important conversation so that we're not stifling democracy? Any way we can continue the conversation? Just curious.
Any way we can do what?
Is there any way we can continue the conversation? We can't vote on the calling of the question right now.
No. So there's a motion on the previous question which cuts off all debate, so we have to vote on that. Okay.
I'm sure. I was just wondering. Thanks, Vice Mayor.
Sure thing. We still having trouble over there?
These are listed as a voting. All right, I'll tell the rest. I'm voting just the.
All right, so here's Councilmember Porterfield. For what purpose?
Could everyone else vote on the machine and he just tell us yes or no?
Yeah, that's what I think we're going to do. Thank you. All right, so what we're going to do is everyone's going to vote, and then Councilmember Taylor, you're going to tell us before we, I guess, take the vote. We're going to call you. We're going to call on you and ask you to give us the vote. Okay. All right. So we are voting on the previous question, not on the amendment, just on the previous question. Requires 2/3 of those voting. Mr. Clerk, are you ready? Okay. We're on a motion to approve the previous question. If you're ready to vote, you'd vote aye. If you're opposed, you'd vote no. Mr. Clerk, not on the amendment, just on the previous question. Okay. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. Councilmember Young, we need your vote. I think we have 29. What? You're on. Okay. I think we good, Mr. Clerk, except for Councilmember Taylor.
Wait.
says he voted, but it's not showing up, and it is showing Councilman Taylor. Councilman Taylor is showing as a vote. Councilman Young's tablet checked out.
All right. We got everybody in except for Councilmember Taylor? And now we've got Councilmember Taylor in? Everybody's in. All right, Mr. Clerk, close machines, take the vote. Previous question. Aye 17, noes 12. Previous question fails. All right. So we are back on the queue. Next person in line is Councilmember Sepulveda. Councilmember Sledge, you're next, but you've already spoken, so I'll go to Councilmember Sepulveda first.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't know, me and my colleague Porterfield here were wondering why we were here, if not to take the time to debate and talk thoroughly through a lot of these issues. And I would challenge us to think about that, why we were elected. And I know many of us are very passionate about our work, and so I fully believe that we're going to do everything that's necessary to make sure that we do our job thoroughly. And I was sitting here thinking about previous projects that have come before us, and how we're told that this has to happen as soon as possible because the deal might fall through. And I completely believe that if this amendment fails, that we're not going to hear, I believe we're going to hear the same thing, that we don't have time to have more community meetings, that there have been enough community meetings. When the district council member has planned a community meeting and is asking us to be in support of this amendment because it makes sure that he is consistent with the rest of the projects on the fairground requiring a 27-member vote. Again, to reiterate, this is a district council member who has daily communications with his constituents, who is hearing from them on a daily basis that they have concerns, and he is trying to go through the process thoroughly, as we should be going through the process thoroughly. And so I'm going to be in support of this amendment because I'm tired. I say this all the time. I'm tired of things being rushed through, and I'm going to be here for the next 4 years, and I have nothing but time to discuss this project and what it should look like and how it could benefit the community and have all of the concerns addressed. So I would ask my colleagues to be in support.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you to everyone who voted on the previous question so that we had the opportunity to stand up and address the body. I agree with the sentiments of my colleague. We're here. Councilmember Sledge has been a thoughtful council member. I think we all can agree to that. He's heard from his constituents. This is his community and his district, and I do think that is incumbent upon us to support our colleague. This is not something that's going to kill the deal. This is something that's going to give us more time to be thoughtful and to deliberate it. We spent a lot of time on the last piece of the last big deal that we just did. We spent a lot of time on it. Some of us wanted to spend some more time on it, but that's passed. But now we have an opportunity to get this right and to do better, and to do better by the people. And I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Johnson, and she's right there, sorry. Went the wrong way. I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Johnson. The Fair Boards, they've had the opportunity to properly vet this for a while, and we haven't. We don't have that much time left in this term, and I think that we need to make sure that we're cognizant of what we're doing and how this is going to impact Nashville and the community. So I stand with my colleague, Councilmember Sledge. I think that we need 27 votes, just like we have on other pieces of similar legislation. So with that, I ask my colleagues to please support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hauser.
I have a question that perhaps Mike can answer. So if we vote on the amendment, which removes the funding from the revenue bonds, and then this project is considered after this, then the only way it can be paid for is general service bonds, is that correct? Or would we bring it back next year in the CIB for revenue bonds? I just want to make sure that we don't take something off the backs of our constituents and put it on those who are using the facility. And if we vote yes on the amendment, are we now putting everything on our constituents' property taxes, or is there a way to go back?
Mr. Jamison.
So all I can tell you for sure is that the current ordinance submitting the Speedway proposal is based on revenue bonds. And so if that is eliminated from the CIB, we are prohibited from issuing revenue bonds, which is the primary funding source for the ordinance that is before you. The amendment would not only just be eliminating the ordinance, it would be changing the CIB. So the only way to re-inject revenue bonds into that would be Planning Commission issues an amendment, and I don't know what's on their calendar if that could be done this term. The mayor then approves it, and then it would come to the council for a 2/3 vote. That would be the only way to reinsert. But the pending ordinance is based on revenue bonds.
Okay, so we could go through the process you're talking about and get it back to having revenue bonds again, or we would rewrite the bill in its entirety because as it's now written, it has to have revenue bonds. Is that correct?
Right. The currently pending ordinance is you'll see in the caption, it is based, the primary funding source is revenue bonds.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Mendez.
Respectfully, not all revenue bonds are created equal. The revenue bonds for the football stadium, for example, the pro forma we've seen has something like 2 to 2.5 times the revenue generated that it would take to cover the bonds. That's by design to try to get money for future improvements set aside. But the revenue for the football stadium that we just approved, those revenue bonds have got tons and tons of revenue. And we heard Finance Director Flannery talk, and I'm paraphrasing, that was what was going to help keep Metro from having to backstop most of the bonds on the football stadium. And the other revenue bonds that this council's approved while I've been in office, whether it was a soccer stadium, or I'm forgetting what the other ones are, but there's been an extreme comfort level that the revenue covers it. And here, if y'all have looked at even the stuff that the Fair Board looked at a couple months ago, is the part of the reason why this has taken 1.5 years at the Fair Board is because this kind of it sucks. The amount of revenue that it takes to try to get these bonds to be covered has been dubious from the get-go, which is why even the CVC is having to kick in a payment annually to try to make ends meet. And Metro, I think, is going to fully backstop these. Just keep in mind that drawing a distinction that, oh, this is going to pay for itself, that's far from the case on this, especially for a sport whose viewership is declining, not going up, and for a sport that doesn't commit for more than a couple years at a time to any particular venue on its circuit. So I think just keep that in mind, that these revenue bonds are not remotely anything like the council has approved in the last several years.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I'm trying to figure out, I think having worked closely with my colleague in District 17 for the past 8 years, I know how attentive and responsive he is to both his own constituents and stewardship of the fairgrounds. And I guess maybe this is a question for the administration. I will say I'm standing here with some pretty significant concerns about the pending ordinance, and I'm just trying to figure out, I think there are multiple people in the city who are committed to both improvements to the track and the speedway, improvements to the fairgrounds proper. This amendment seems to preserve the opportunity to do that, and I'd just like to better understand the distinction between the two types of bonds and what they would or would not enable before we vote. Thanks.
Mr. Jameson.
Yes, we have stated to several council members that our preference that we be allowed to have a full-fledged discussion of the proposal pursuant to the legislation that's coming before you is we think far superior to a CIB amendment that will just cut off any further consideration of it for the remainder of this term. So simply voting against this amendment, we understand, in no way commits you to support the Speedway. You may, upon hearing it fully vetted, fully judged, fully assessed on its merits, conclude by your own conscience and by what your constituents tell you to vote against it. Understood that. But that's a full vetting, as opposed to an amendment you received 24 hours ago that would eliminate that. The pursuit here with revenue bonds is, again, as stated previously, that the preference is generally you try to get through revenue bonds, the end users pay for it, whereas general obligation bonds from the outset, by definition, are backed by the taxpayers, every taxpayer of Davidson County. And from a starting point, the preference is to have those who would enjoy this facility be the ones that pay for it.
Okay. Councilmember Welsh.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I too rise in support of this amendment. What this amendment does is stop another train wreck, another train going over a cliff like we saw with the Titans. The deal that these revenue bonds are backing is not a very good deal. It didn't have the full unanimous support of the Fair Board. There are many things that this deal as it stands right now does not guarantee that people assume it guarantees. Like, for example, local race weekends will only be local races. They could also be NASCAR races. Actually, they could phase out local races. There's nothing that says in this deal as it stands now that these revenue bonds will be backing, that these local events even have to happen there. They can all be phased out. Nothing is in writing. And so I think that it is prudent, after the train wreck we just had with the Titans, that we slow down and we stop this and we start from the beginning again with a new council and a new administration. We saw how the administration was less than honest about the Titans, and on a vote that we made very clear was simply symbolic to move something forward that they then claimed was a victory for them and supported the council. I have no doubt that they will do the same thing with this, and this is too big of a deal on the heels of the Titans deal to just rubber stamp this, and I rise in support of this because it'll slow down something that I fear is going to take us even further into the hole. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I appreciate everybody's comments. Something that keeps coming up again and again in our conversation in committee and here is this concept of the end user and this concept of who enjoys the facility. And I will tell you in the time that I've served in this seat that if anything, if you take nothing else away from this, I have tried to work on this particular property to move it away from what was a public facility, but not publicly accessible. It had barbed wire throughout it. It was not somewhere that you would, quite frankly, want to go unless you were going to a particular event or a particular use. And what we have done in this body over the last 8 years is open that facility up, this publicly owned, publicly operated facility. And now we have a 46-acre park paid for by GO bonds. Now we have new fair flea market and expo facilities paid for by GO bonds. Now we have new infrastructure in a place that didn't have infrastructure for 80 years, paid for by GO bonds. And here we're told that we prefer that the end user pay for those who enjoy the facility, and that's the problem I have. The problem is that for so long, the public has not been able to enjoy the facility outside of the quote-unquote end user, and the end user changes. The end user changes under the revenue bonds. This does not become just this older, small track. This becomes a 30,000-seat facility with a $17 million event space. And that is not what I asked for. What I asked for from this administration was safer, less neighborhood impact. Right now, the revenue bonds would fund events that would have no mufflers. Mufflers our community fought for more than a decade. It would have events for no curfews. Curfews we fought for a decade. The end user changes, but the community that gets affected doesn't. And the community is who is asking you not to go forward with this. That's who you've got in your inboxes today. The community I represent is asking you, don't go forward with this particular deal. And I guarantee you, we've already heard in committee, we've already heard on the floor, no material changes. I have no opportunity to significantly impact this agreement for my community. The only way I have to do that is to tell them this deal, this proposal isn't going to work. Let's work on something else. Please vote for this amendment. Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the discussion. I'll say the same thing I said in committee, and I respect Councilmember Sledge's passion for his neighborhood and the work that he is doing to ensure that they are protected. I am just frustrated that there's an important discussion to be had about what this deal proposes and the intricacies of it, and we will not have that discussion if we cut this debate off now. And approving this amendment stops the debate and stops any further discussion for months and months. And some of us have begun this process. We've listened, I think, to the many neighbors that we've heard. They've given us specific things that are specific problems. There probably isn't time to fix that in the time that we have allowed, but I feel like today is not the day for 21 of us to make a decision that we think 27 people should be making. And so I would respectfully thank the council member for the work that he is doing to protect his neighborhood. I totally respect that. I do feel like this amendment is taking away opportunities for the rest of us to fully understand what this is, and then to get to the point where we can say, I have made my informed decision, and I have listened to the input from the neighbors and what the possibilities are here. And to me, that's an important process for us to go through. The outcome may be exactly the same, and it's a shame that it has to be that long and complicated and drawn out. But I think it's important for all of us to understand what we're voting on, and some of us are playing catch up. I've been to as many of these meetings as I could get to. I've looked through as many of the documents as I could, but I'm not done yet. And I understand that we all feel like we need more time. I don't feel like voting on this amendment right now gives us more time. It just stops the discussion. And I think the opportunity to stop the discussion will come up again, and we'll be more informed if we wait to do it when we have more information. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hart.
So my question is, are we conflating two things? Because I am questioning the process. I want to know what is different tonight than what was different last year when I spoke passionately about the community that I cared for. And if having that allocation in the CIB was not going to hurt, then why is it going to hurt now? So are we talking about the process? Because if we were voting on the Speedway tonight, then I am emphatically a no. Because I have heard what it is that the residents have said, just as I did a couple of weeks ago with Bellmead, and as I did with several others. So I'm really trying to figure out what is the difference, what is the process here? Are we, am I making sense?
Mr. Jameson, I think she's looking at you.
Yeah, yes, you are making sense, and we would agree that if you will keep the CIB as it currently is, which is identical to what it was last year, which includes the revenue bond option, you keep options on the table and you keep the ability to discuss substantively. A lot of great questions here tonight, a lot of great questions that perhaps bond counsel, if he were here, could answer. And I believe he will be here when there's a substantive discussion of this. But to just eliminate and foreclose that discussion now strikes us as suboptimal, at least.
Thank you. So, again, I publicly said tonight that I was voting no. Now, I don't know what that clarified or if it was a clarification on what I was voting no on. But I just want to state for the record that this is not the vote for or against the Speedway, correct? I didn't hear you.
Mr. Jameson said yes.
That is absolutely correct. And voting against this amendment in no way commits you to vote for the Speedway. That's the point. Let's have the full, transparent, full-fledged discussion on the merits of that. Don't cut it off tonight.
So if I voted in favor of this amendment, does it take me back to last year, meaning that I could have voted in favor of what I had?
I'm not sure I understand that.
So when I tried to take the allocation out of the CIB, it was told that it was not going to hurt.
She's out of time, but obviously.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
That gave me my answer.
Okay. Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to thank folks. There's been a little honesty here tonight, and that's that there are folks here, and the ultimate goal is to kill this deal before this council can actually have it come through before us and discuss it. I just ask that we not eliminate some of the options on the table. I just ask that we vote against this amendment so that as you dig in to the details of this and you meet with folks from the Fair Board, that you haven't taken off an option that we have. It is not fair to everyone that has worked so hard at the Fair Board. It's not fair to the more than 10 sponsors of the legislation. It's not fair to the thousands and thousands of residents all across Davidson County, not just the people that live next to a racetrack that they chose to live next to, but the people all across Davidson County. It's not fair to them that we abruptly end this process before it can be thoroughly vetted and discussed, and this council have the opportunity to do the job that we were elected to do. And I just ask that we just keep the option on the table and move forward through the discussion. And then when we get to the actual proposal, you can vote how you like. I'm just asking us to keep the options on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. We've got people in the queue, but Councilmember Cash, you have not been recognized yet. Councilmember Cash.
Previous question.
Councilmember Cash has called the previous question. Again, we're not voting on the amendment. We are voting on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. On the board. Okay. Mr. Clerk, we're on the board. Previous question. Again, not on the amendment, just on the previous question. You ready? All right. We are voting on the previous question. If you're for the previous question, you vote yes. If you're against it, you vote no. Okay. Votes are in. Mr. Clerk, close machines, take the vote. Ayes 19, noes 11, 0 abstentions. The motion fails by 1 vote. Okay. All right, we're back in the queue. Councilmember Sepulveda.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to give my time to Councilmember Sludge.
Okay, Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Sepulveda. I understand that it's a simple thing to ask for options. I get that. I understand that. Here's where I'm coming from. And I'm going to try to address what Councilmember Hurt was saying as well. The community that I represent, and I do want to remove one thing. We don't all get to choose where we live, right? We don't. So I want to make sure that that's clear. Everybody has the same economic mobility. To say we just want to keep options open when the community says, but we don't want this option, means that we're not listening to the community. The community said we don't want this option. Don't want the option of having revenue bonds issued for a proposal that we don't want. We don't want that option. So here's the amendment we're talking about takes out that option, an option that this community, if any of you have seen your inboxes, knows the community doesn't want. Plain and simple. It leaves in another option. An option that, in fact, was explored, at least, not voted on, but at least gotten a report from the Fair Board. What does it take? What does it take to get this facility safer? What does it take to get some sort of sound mitigation in? What does it take to fix the lighting at this facility? What does it take to fix the concrete that moves when you walk on it in the Speedway grandstand? What does that take? The general number was around 41 million. Now people are going to start stretching that range, and they already have. 41 million. I'm leaving the GO bonds in. That's a discussion we can have. That's an option. That's an option we haven't even gone through. So when the community says, we don't want this option, we don't want this option, and we say, well, but we need to keep our options open, then we're not listening. And that's the danger of this. That's the danger of not putting this amendment. And I want to stress, I heard from several members after we went through, to Councilmember Welch's point, after we went through the debates that we did over the last couple of months, I heard from several of you that you want to go through this again. I'm trying to give you that option. To say, let's not go through this again. Let's not go through 2 months of something that the community has said, we don't want this option. Because what's going to happen is it's going to be 2 months of you, all of you, getting pressured to say, you need to do it, you can't change it or it'll kill the deal, and we've had all the meetings that we need to have. Take the option out. Let's look at other options. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Johnston.
Previous question.
All right, we're voting on the previous question again. I'm not even going to try it by voice vote. We'll do it by board. Mr. Clark. Councilmember Porterfield, for what reason?
In the event that the previous question fails again, I just got knocked out of the queue. So I don't know if I was next or not, but it just knocked.
You're in the queue.
It put me back in, but it got knocked out of the queue. I was in the queue, and then I was in the queue, I got knocked out the queue, and now I'm back in the queue. So I don't know if that caused me to lose my place in the conversation.
I've got a whole list, and you're on there. I just don't know where you were before. Okay. Mr. Clark, you ready? Okay, we're voting on the previous question. If you're for the previous question, you vote aye. If you're against, you vote no. Everybody's in? Mr. Clerk, close machines, take the vote. Ayes 18, noes 12. The motion fails. Right. All right, we're back on the queue. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized.
Yes, I'm glad that the point came up that by voting yes or no on this amendment has no bearing on how you're going to vote on the speedway itself, because that could be yes or no. But I guess my question is, because this amendment, if this passes, it cuts out all the conversation about this from now on. And it seems like we need more conversation, even though we're listening or we've had conversation from what the community wants. But I guess my question is, if this amendment fails and conversation continues, can't some of the stuff that was in the amendment, if that's what says it needs, can that be brought up again, or can nothing be brought up again that's in the amendment if it fails? Does that make sense?
That one. Director Darby.
A capital improvements budget can be amended per charter. The charter allows the mayor to bring an amendment to a capital improvements budget at any time in the year if it's accompanied by a recommendation from the Planning Commission. Once it comes to the council, it takes 2/3 vote to pass. So however this turns out tonight, whatever the CIB result is, it can be amended in the future.
To have some of the same stuff in it.
Whatever the amendment that comes, yes, it can be amended.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hauser.
Please clarify, just because something's in the capital improvements budget doesn't mean we are required to fund it in the capital spending plan. Is that correct? So we can have it in the budget and never fund it, but at least it holds a spot if we choose to fund it. Is that correct?
That's correct. An item must be in the capital improvements budget. If it's a construction item that the council wants to approve an expenditure for, it must be in the capital improvements budget before you can approve that expenditure.
Okay. Councilmember Sepulveda.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I want to talk about leverage. My colleague brought up some of the concerns that his neighborhoods have brought up, mufflers, curfews, and I was reminded of the Fair Board vote and how I asked all of you all to defer one appointment to make sure that we had a Latinx person appointed at the same time. And I told you all that that was because I wanted to make sure that it happened. Because we didn't do that, we spent, about a year debating this with a lot of hurt feelings and a lot of repercussions that I'm still feeling to this day. And so when my colleague brought up the fact that this is what he can use to make sure that his neighborhood get what they need and what they ask for and what they have been fighting for, then I'm going to listen. You know, his neighborhoods have been talking about this for a very long time, and he is correct. Some people cannot choose where they live. Some people can't afford to move. Some people might have been there since they were children. I know I have family members who live around the fairgrounds. We had a Fair Board member who also lives a couple of blocks away from the fairgrounds that voted against this. There are people who have to deal with this day in and day out, and things are very much going to change for them from what they have been these past couple of years. So I want us to think about the leverage that the community can use with voting in favor for this amendment to make sure that they are being heard and that a deal takes into account their concerns. And with that, I would ask you all once again to support this amendment.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have about 5 meetings left in this term, and looking around the room, several of my colleagues, y'all will definitely be back. Some other colleagues hopefully will be back, but some people will still have the opportunity to debate this next term. If we vote this down today, we still have the opportunity to address this next term. And we have the opportunity to work with the community, to hear from the people in the community, to hear from Councilmember Sledge's constituents, and to make the best version of the deal for the people that will be directly impacted by this. The folks in District 29 aren't going to have to hear these loud mufflers. They hear loud mufflers from drag racing just like y'all's district do. They're not going to have to hear those mufflers. Councilmember Sledge is representing his community and his constituents. There's a quote that says something along the lines of lack of planning on your part doesn't constitute an emergency on my part. Now, I'm not going to say that it was lack of planning because I do believe that the administration and the Fair Board worked hard on this. I understand that. But you bring us this type of deal with 5 meetings left. Five meetings. And we see what the Titans vote did to us. There's no denying what happened with our body. And we were a very close-knit group. And this caused so much tension between the body. We don't want that for the last 5 meetings. We have the opportunity to vote this down and let it come back next term where it can be properly vetted and not rushed through. So many people have said multiple times that we're tired of getting stuff at the last minute and being told if we don't hurry up and pass it, it's going to ruin everything. Multiple colleagues on both sides of this particular issue have said that about previous pieces of legislation that we've had to vote on. So if you feel that way, here's a great opportunity to stand up for what you say and what you believe in. Why are we rushing through this? We don't have to rush through this. This is not going to kill the deal. This is simply going to allow more time for it to be addressed with the next body. So again, I'm supporting Councilmember Sledge, and I will ask my wonderful, esteemed colleagues to stand not only with Councilmember Sledge, but with his constituents. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Murphy.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Jamison, you served on this body. During that time, how many discussions about the fairgrounds and improvements? You served from something to 11. Okay.
2003.
03 to 11. And how often during that time did the discussion about the fairgrounds and racetracks come up?
Relatively frequently.
And as someone who goes to the fairgrounds frequently for different events and shows and expos, and just because I've got the mic, I'm going to work in that I'm a state fair ribbon winner. You know, the facilities have been embarrassing for a long time. And finally, during these last 8 years, we've started to make improvements there, but it has taken a long time to get there. Now, the racetrack is not something that is new. It is not a discussion that is new. Maybe these terms in the deal is, you know, something that hasn't been on the table when Mr. Jamison was sitting on this, in a different seat than he sits now on this floor. But we all knew this was coming, and we've all had the opportunity to ask questions. We voted on this capital improvements budget last year that included this. The amendment didn't come up then. I'm having a hard time with the reasoning that the last 4 years that this is just, no one knew this was coming. And I did want to address something else that was said about the state changing the deal, the state, that the Save the Fairgrounds group went up and lobbied the state legislature, and it's not fair that they changed the deal after the Fair Board had passed it. That is what I've heard on this floor in different ways. Well, if y'all are saying that that makes the state a bad partner, or that makes Save the Fairgrounds a bad partner, this is making us a bad partner, that we have agreed on a deal, or that the fairgrounds has recommended a deal. We've previously approved this capital improvements budget in this form, and now we're changing it too.
Now, I am not opposed to us having our own say and putting our own mark on things, but I think we've all have said we've flip-flopped, we've done this, we've done that, but at the end of the day, I think it's time to put this to rest. No, why kick it to the next term? Because it's easier? We weren't elected to do just easy things. Let's have this discussion. Let's have this debate when the time is. Right now, we've already voted on this. Let's move it on through the same way we did last year.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Cash.
Thanks. I am in support of the amendment, and I'm hearing all the good arguments on both sides. My concern is, one of the things that we're hearing is we can vote this down and continue talking. I, at this point, am convinced that while we can have a option later on to vote no, there's our voting yes or our voting no on the Speedway deal, but there's also our responsibility to make it the best deal it can be. And I am at this point convinced that we do not have time to make it the best deal it can be. And I know I've talked to my constituents for a couple of years, and I am right next to Councilmember Sledge's district, and some of them have reached out to me about their concerns. So, we can move forward, and yes, we have a right to vote yes on it or no on it, but we also have a responsibility to make it the best it can be. And again, I just don't see that we have time to do that. And I think we have, I believe we have legislation coming forward that kind of undermines Councilmember Sledge's ability to hold a District 17 meeting about this, which I have big concerns about. As one of there are two kind of elements of this discussion. One is, does the city want this deal? And the other is, does the neighborhood near it want the deal? And part of that is not just a yes or no, but how does it impact them? And how can we, if there's great concern, which there is, as to how it impacts them, then how can we fix those things rather than just try to get a vote where we get a certain, whether it's 21 or 27. But I do not think at this point that we have the time to address all the concerns that Councilmember Sledge's constituents and my constituents, because we hear it too, and it impacts us too. I don't think we have time to do that, so I will be supporting the amendment.
All right, thank you. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thanks, Mr. President. I think I'm kind of following Councilmember Cash here in terms of what I'm hearing, right? So obviously we've got a pending ordinance that represents a deal that the administration wants to pursue that I think runs contrary to what the majority of Councilmember Sledge's constituents are interested in there. I think everybody who's lived by the racetrack understands there's a racetrack there. I mean, I grew up hearing the sounds from the racetrack from my parents' house, which is not particularly close to the fairgrounds. I would say for my part, before I consider voting against the amendment, I'm interested in hearing from the administration a direct response to the concerns that Councilmember Sledge approved, because I'm not particularly interested in supporting a pending ordinance that does not address some things that we know are already constraints that are reflective of community preference. So I'd just like to hear the administration respond to that on the basis of the pending ordinance. Thank you.
Mr. Jameson.
The two concerns that I think are most immediate in terms of, one, are end users actually paying for this? And the ordinance before you does have the revenue bonds being paid in part by on-site state and local sales taxes, ticket taxes, revenue sharing from events. The end users, the attendees, the patrons of this facility. The facility is currently protected under the charter and takes a supermajority to demolish it, so it's not going away anytime soon. The administration had made clear to Bristol that we had heard the concerns of the neighbors, primarily around noise. That was certainly the most frequently listed concern. Insisted that they address that effectively and promptly. They have indicated a community benefits agreement that commits to noise reduction levels. I don't have the terms in front of me because tonight is just the CIB, and I don't have the specifics for the ordinance before me. We just want to have that chance to lay that out and be able to demonstrate that we think we've met the community concerns, at least as expressed to the Fair Board and in the previous community meetings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think more specifically, too, on the curfew, I don't know if that's addressed in the deal.
I don't know if that's included within the community benefits agreement. We would certainly have that when that legislation, when the substantive underlying legislation comes before this council in July.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Sledge, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The audacity to say that there's a community benefits agreement on this is unbelievable. To say that there would be one that's even in progress is unbelievable. This administration came to me and said, you know, I think the only person who could get mufflers on the NASCAR cars is you, Councilmember Sledge. Me. Fell to me. I want to address a couple of the other items that came up. First of all, why didn't we deal with it last year and we could have dealt with it this year? Well, last year there was a 27-vote margin. The council members above this point, the leverage was there. The community leverage was there. Community leverage is gone because our supposed partner, Bristol SMI, went to their Bristol representative and their Bristol state senator to pass legislation to undermine us, to make that a 21-vote margin. And now the state is being sued, both by Metro and, quite frankly, by a group of council members that includes yours truly. Because the leverage is gone. That's the difference. Here's another difference. One year I noticed in the CIB that the revenue bond number had gone up from 75 million to where it is now, to 100 million. And nobody bothered to call me about it. So I had to make that call to the administration and find out it was because of inflation. But they told me it was inflation. And I got to tell you, members, year after year of this, I just get tired. So last year, when there's no deal on the table, 100 million in revenue bonds, I say, you know what, I'm going to pick my fights. This year, I'm not going to do it. I knew the Jefferson cap was in the amendments packet. I was going to try to pick my battles where I could. September 2022 was when I got a call from the administration for probably the first time in a year. Hey, we've got a draft deal in place. We'd like to talk to you about it. Can I get any details about this draft deal before we meet? No, you cannot. Okay, I'll still meet with you. 4 hours later, the Fair Board agenda changed. 8:30 at 9. That's what I'm dealing with as a council member. So to stand here and hear that a community benefits agreement is going to occur when I know what hell I went through for there to be a community benefits agreement regarding this facility is beyond the pale. This is what I'm going to have to deal with, guys. This is what I'm telling you I'm going to have to deal with if this stays in over the next 2 months. That's what's on the table. That's what leaving these revenue bonds in does. It exposes me and my constituents to the same level of disingenuous conversation that's occurred over the last several years. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just want to echo a couple of points that have been made. There's not a community benefits agreement around this deal. There's nothing resembling a community benefits agreement around this deal. Nothing to that effect has been shared or negotiated or anything to my knowledge. So that is a ridiculous assertion to say that there is one here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about civic bandwidth, which I think is something that we all have brushed up against the limits of in this term, specifically towards the end of this term. Civic bandwidth is a real thing. I mean, the folks out there in the community that we're asking to come to community meeting after community meeting, to public hearing, to come to a council meeting to beg for us to have a public hearing about something. These folks have jobs, they have kids, they have extracurriculars, they have things they need to be doing. That is the foundation of the civic bandwidth. There's also the civic bandwidth of this body. Right. So, we were asked to consider the largest ever sports subsidy in frankly, sports history, not Nashville history, in sports history. This body spent a tremendous amount of our civic bandwidth over the last year doing so. We have, as Councilmember from Southeast Nashville said, we have 5 meetings left of this term. If you vote, a yes vote on this amendment is a vote to spend our remaining civic bandwidth of this term working on the issues that our folks elected us to come here and work on. A yes vote on this amendment allows us to finish out this term working on affordable housing, working on transportation, working on these critical issues. We will be consumed by this particular project if we do not support this amendment tonight. And I'm asking colleagues to please consider allowing us to finish out the term focusing on the issues that our people sent us here to focus on.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Johnston.
Previous question.
Okay, we're going to vote on the previous question. Mr. Clerk? When you're ready. All right, Mr. Clerk, we're voting on the previous question. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. Ready in? All right, Mr. Clerk, close machines, take the vote. Ayes 21, noes 9. The motion passes. The previous question passes. We are now on the amendment. So, Mr. Clerk, we are voting on amendment number 1 to BL 2023-1880. Before the amendment, you would vote aye. If you're against it, you'd vote no. Mr. Clerk, tell me when you're ready. So the motion to adopt amendment number 1. Again, if you're for Councilmember Sledge's amendment, you'd vote yes. If you're against it, you'd vote no. Okay. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. Everybody's in. Everybody's in. Mr. Clerk, close machines. Take the vote. Ayes 13, noes 15, 2 abstentions. The amendment fails. So we are now on back to Councilmember Roten. We are on your bill.
Renew my motion.
Okay, Councilmember Roten has renewed his motion on BL 2023-1880. It's the capital improvements budget. It's been properly seconded by Councilmember Withers. We're on the bill. Councilmember O'Connell, on the bill. You're still in the queue. Okay. Anybody wish to be heard on the capital improvements budget? All right, so this is, we're passing this on third and final consideration. We'll do it by voice vote. All those in favor of BL 2023-1880 for passage on third and final reading, say. You have to? It was so close. They want to do a roll call. All right. Yeah, it requires 21. I get that. Just not if everybody voted for it. Okay. All right. Mr. Clark, we're voting on a motion to pass BL 2023-1880 on third reading. Open the machines. Mr. Clark. we leave quite yet. Everybody in? All right. Mr. Clerk, close machines. Take the vote. Ayes 27, noes 2, 0 abstentions. The bill passes on third and final reading. All right, I need a motion to adjourn. Properly seconded. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn say aye. Opposed, no. We stand adjourned.
And so the council has concluded about an hour and 50-minute special meeting, although actually that's by the clock. If you go by the time they're actually in session and debating things, we started about 15 to 20 minutes late because we did not quite have a quorum of the council. Needs 27 votes to conduct business. We didn't quite have that. Once they got here, they got started. And the council had a couple of technical difficulties early on with the voting machines. Everything on the agenda, with the exception of the capital budget, was passed routinely. No debates, no problems. The capital budget, when it finally passed 27-2. That's a little bit unusual. Usually capital budgets pass without any dissenting votes. What was the sticking point was an amendment that the council did not add on that would have changed the amount of money and the funding sources for improvements at the Metro Fairgrounds, more specifically the renovations and expansion of the Metro at the fairgrounds Speedway out there. Councilman Scobey Sledge, who represents that area, wanted to change it from $100 million in revenue bonds, just $50 million general obligations bond. That's very different, significantly different from the Fairgrounds Speedway revitalization program proposed by Mayor John Cooper, which the council is set to consider in July. We're about down to the last 5 weeks of this council, so had that amendment passed tonight, probably the Speedway project in this form probably would not have gone forward. It would have been left up to a new administration and a new council to decide what to do. Now it looks like it will go forward, although there'll be, obviously, you can see plenty of opposition to it. When the council did finally vote to cut off debate, and that went on for most of the hour or more on this, and that took about 5 times before the previous question passed 21-9, and then they voted on the actual amendment. It failed 13-15, so you can see the council's pretty divided about this project, and that's probably one takeaway by that. One thing also take away is you can see the friction between the Metro Council and the state legislature is still in force down here, particularly since the legislature changed the rules for what it would take to pass the Speedway ordinance. The renovations. Normally under the Metro Charter, because of an amendment that was adopted by voters some years ago by a pretty hefty majority, it would take 27 votes to do that, but the legislature changed that to be 21 votes. Some council members were very upset about that, very upset. They wanted to have continued debate about this whole thing, but again, the council voted tonight not to approve that amendment by the vote to reject it was 13-15, and then they finally approved the capital budget 27-2. The council is now in recess for 1 week. It'll be back for its regular session on the 20th of June. One of the big issues that night, it probably will be fairly routine, but an important matter, they will be approving the capital, not the capital budget. We did that tonight. We'll be doing the operating budget for Mayor John Cooper. There'll probably be some changes in that. The council always has its own substitute ordinance. There'll be some changes, but don't expect anything too serious that might cause that kind of debate. But with this council, you never know what may wind up being debated at length. There's no tax increase involved in this. That usually makes passage on third and final reading of a substitute budget fairly simple. The council will also be considering nominations and will fill the vacancy by a vote of the bill in the vacancy in the legislature for Bill Breck, who died of a massive heart attack just about 10 days ago. Very unexpected. The council is going to fill that vacancy pretty quickly because normally this time of year the legislature is not going to come back into session until January, but there is a special session that's been called by Governor Bill Lee that will consider gun issues, and the council members feel it's important to fill that position so that the people in that particular district for Representative Beck can be represented with a vote and within the debate that comes up in the legislature about the various pieces of legislation that may be considered during that upcoming special session. We'll be here at that time to provide live coverage. Until then, I'm Pat Nolan, and good night from the council chambers. Tonight's special meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council has been coming to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's been a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.